Hello, it's John Gibbons, and we continue to celebrate 10 years of tour here at the Anfield Wrap. 10 years of podcast videos and lots of other things in between. And so we've been doing these videos where I sit with people who've been there for a long time, a long period of that. Occasionally, people who've been there since the very start, and just go through some moments, some pictures from them 10 years, and hopefully jog some fun memories on the way. So it's Craig Hannan in the hot seat this time. You excited, mate?
I'm quite excited with this. Don't know any of the pictures, by the way. Haven't seen them. I've no idea what's to come, but yeah, I've been loving all the bits so far, so yeah, I'm excited to be involved.
Yeah, it's a surprise for everyone. You know, we want to get some emotions, some tears, some laughs, whatever you feel, mate. You know what I mean? No pressure. But we'll get going anyway. And everyone wants to start with this one. Found this because this was very early. This was very early in your Anfield Wrap time. We sent you up to Melbourne and you ended up interviewing Gini Wijnaldum.
Yeah, I'm the marketing fella. Do you know what I mean? I am the marketing fella. And yeah, it was an open training day. I think it was before Kiev or something like that. It was some sort of end of season training day. And we went down and yeah, there was a press conference before it where Dejan Lovren and Klopp were on and asked Dejan Lovren a question, but it was one of those. It was like, fuck it, I'm in a press conference. When am I going to get to ask a question again? So I just did it. And then at the end, Tony shouted over. He said something like room 10. I had no idea what he was saying. He said room 10, Genie. And I think I was with Sean. I looked at Sean and was like, does he mean we're going to have to interview Gini Wijnaldum? And we had no equipment. We had the mic, but we had no sort of camera equipment. We had nothing planned. I had never interviewed a human being before, John. And Genie came in, he was all smiles, he was lovely, and it went broadly all right, I suppose. But yeah, I don't think I want to do that again.
Yeah, and it just shows that very often with these in these occasions, yeah, it's you know, you get no notice whatsoever. It's just sort of go and do this and you have to do your best. I thought you did well. They said, look, Genie looks like he's having a nice time.
Yeah, it was funny because someone, I remember it going onto the website afterwards, and like broadly speaking, the feedback was like quite nice considering I'd never interviewed anyone before. And there was one fella and he was like, why isn't it Gibbo or Neil or something? I was like, mate, I'd have much rather have been Gibbo or Neil. But it was a good experience, and Genie was lovely, and it was sort of 20 minutes of like thinking on your feet and just coming up with things, because yous make it much easier than it actually is to interview, I always think. And yeah, it was a great experience. What a fella he is, Gini Wijnaldum. I love him.
Yeah, miss him. Okay, we'll move on. I want to do, there's quite a lot on going away, as you can imagine, and this is from the summer 2018. As you've done a couple of tours now. I mean, first of all, tour life is unreal, isn't it? Just being able to stand on pictures in these amazing stadiums. That's a really nice picture of the four of us who went on that one. But yeah, it's speaking of things you miss, tour life.
Yeah, it was brilliant. That was in Charlotte, I think. So that was our very first sort of, it was my first city on tour. And yeah, like what an experience. That was after Kiev, so that was the summer after Kiev. And just getting to watch the footballers up close. Like I remember them doing sort of like little rondo drills just right in front of us, and just the speed at which they were doing it, just being able to be that close. And yeah, those tours are amazing. I think one of the things, they look great on Instagram, and in the background you don't see like all of the work that goes on. So you're spending sort of, you know, after that we were in the pub trying to get everything up and trying to get it up on the internet and all of that, and so there's a lot of stress afterwards. But yeah, that was just some experience. I remember
it's a constant battle for sleep and Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, it's a cycle. Yeah, and look, we get a drink and we get to sort of meet supporters out there, and that's one of the best bits. You make sort of friends for life, that when they come over to Liverpool, they visit us now, and that's brilliant. But I remember being in the tunnel afterwards, and I think we were. Was the mix zone after that, or have I made that up?
This was an open training. I think that's why. So that's why we're just out there on the pitch, I think, for this. But,
there was something we were in the tunnel for afterwards. Maybe it was a Klopp's doing like a little press conference or whatever. But the footballers were just walking around, and Mo Salah was just there. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, like all the other players, I was like, I'm keeping it cool. Like I'm just like going, you're right. Like doing all that. Mario Götze was walking around because Dortmund had been there. Yeah. And Salah's there, and I just thought, fuck it, I'm shaking his hand here. And I went like, Mo, And he'd almost like walked past me, and then he realised, and he like came back and he was like, "Oh, sorry, mate," and like shook my hand and walked away. And honestly, I could have melted in that moment. Like, what a fella! But yeah, it's some experience doing those.
Yeah, a few more obviously of the tour stuff. This one with the lovely Lallana. A few reasons to throw this on here. Probably see Mick Clark's lovely face.
We were so drunk at this stage.
But yeah, but Lallana sort of came through for us because we'd already auctioned one of his shirts. Lady Amy spent about $300 on tickets, didn't win. So Adam found out and signed a match sort of worn shirt special for her. And so it's a nice memory of tour, but also a reminder just how sound these footballers are.
Yeah, he was brilliant. There was, I know we've mentioned this before on content, but there was another sort of 2 games before that on the same tour where he was about to walk past and then he said, "Oh, the Anfield Wrap," and turned back and spoke to us. And it sort of shows that the footballers are on it, and the footballers are on to what we do as sort of fans, not just us. I mean, the Liverpool fan base as a whole on social media. But yeah, for him to sort of think, right, well, what can I do to sort of, to help and Robertson, wasn't it a Robertson shirt? I think it was.
Yeah.
It was the Lallana. Sorry,
we got a Robertson one as well. We interviewed Robertson in this early on in this tour. He gave us a shirt. We auctioned that for Fan Sport and Food Banks. Then Lallana found out how much money we raised, gave us a shirt, and then this is a third shirt, a second from Lallana.
So we went away and we came back with like thousands of pounds for the food banks, which was incredible. And that's obviously it's down to the subscribers that have paid the money on the night, but also the footballers giving away the football shirts and thinking, what can we do to make a difference? It's brilliant. But that was great. I loved that because it was a game, one of those things that just sort of happens, isn't it? And
yeah.
I think we got a call and said, "Can you be here in like 5 minutes?" And we're over, and we're quite drunk. We'd had a nice day. It's right at the end of the tour. Most of the work had been done. And then we watched Liverpool in, I'm trying to think of what game that was. Was that Michigan? Yeah, it was. It was at the Big House. So that was the 100,000 capacity stadium.
Yeah, we had at the point.
Yeah, now you remember. Shaqiri scores the overhead. We bunked into a box. We used our media passes to get ourselves round to the executive boxes, and then we found a box that nobody was in, and to the left of us was the Glazers. Do you remember this? And to the right was like American football fans that had no idea what was going on, by the way. Yeah. Do you remember that? They just sort of were there, I think, because they probably owned that box.
I snuck in the back of their box and nicked some beer as well, while they were looking.
Fred the Red, do you remember?
Fred the Red came in, and someone looked at us and just got off, and he was like, these are my people.
And I think the box ended up being whoever the head coach of Michigan, because he had a little bobblehead of himself in which I was into. But yeah, that was a great day all in all. And we'd seen, I think, Webster as well. Jimmy Webster was playing just before the gig, so it just had everything.
Yeah. Okay, move on. So this is the same tour. This is the live show in Charlotte, which might have been the first one you did. I love that you've got 2 beers in that hand if you look closely, getting yourself separate on stage. The Boston live shows, generally, if you enjoy doing them, because as you say, you're not you've come in to do marketing and that's more how you see yourself, but being on the stage for the live shows and meeting everyone, you must get a buzz off. Yeah,
it's brilliant. I think my first live show was Belfast, and it just, I think it was 2016, and it just so happened that I was back home for that weekend for a Northern Ireland game, and so I was coming to the live show, and Neil just said to me, like, "Do you want to do it?" And it was one of those things. I suppose it's exactly the same as when he said, "Do you want to go on a podcast?" At the time, I was like, your first sort of instinct was, no, absolutely not. I can't think of anything worse than being on stage in front of people and having to talk about footy and at times be funny and so on. But I'm so glad I did it, because nights like that was one of my favourites that we ever did, really. It was in Charlotte. It was sort of, we'd worked really hard on sort of pulling the venues together and selling the tickets, and the venue just looked brilliant, looked so cool in the photographs. The crowd were excellent. At the same time as that live event, Jamie Webster was playing an LFC event, wasn't he?
And it was free as well, so I was like, oh, no one's going to buy tickets, but like 200 people came and like paid to see us. like what to come to our thing rather than like go to the club thing with Webster, which was like I was just made up with, you know what I mean, just showed a lot. And like we sold so much merch that night as well. It was like unreal. I remember we budgeted for like how much merch we need for the whole trip, and like we nearly sold out in Charlotte. So we were like, but I felt super sad when we got to New York, and I was like, sorry, we've got nothing left, but you know, we've been there a couple of times.
But like
already.
that, because again, it's just us four that goes over, and it's like it's us that plans the whole thing.
Yeah.
We get help from the supporters clubs now and then, but for Charlotte mostly it was us really, and even like the merch, it's us slugging the merch off. Like I remember after that gig, you having to, or me and you having to go through Charlotte, drunk because every American.
Well, it was a Saturday night as well. It was Saturday night, so it was busy, and me and you were just
slugging this the rest of it. But even like we couldn't start the gig. You couldn't start the gig on time because there were so many people coming in the door, and you and I were doing the door and selling the merch.
Yeah.
So it was just this that was just one of the most sort of frantic, mad beginnings to an Anfield Wrap show. But there was over 200 people there, and it was such a good experience, really.
Yeah, boss, nice. So this is a year later, but it's another tour. I just needed to have it because it's such a cool shot. Yeah. It's Talking Reds from Times Square. Just showing off a bit.
That is showing off. Yeah, it's a brilliant photo. I just remembered. This is the trip I lost my phone on. Like
day one, though.
It was all. And because on these trips, like you're out and about all of the time, and like so much of my work was on my phone, and so that was a bit of a nightmare. But this was another brilliant trip. I can't believe that was the last one we were on. It feels like so long ago, and I can't wait to get them back. But that is probably the coolest place we've ever done, Talking Reds. New York's brilliant. Going back there, that's now twice I've done the live shows with the Anfield Wrap there, and the sports clubs are brilliant. It's again, like I mentioned earlier, it's one of those ones where they're your mates now. Yeah. And you just can't wait to A, do the live event, but B, just sort of have a pint with them all afterwards.
Okay. Had to throw it on. So from tour life to bus life, we've got buses to 2 European finals now. This was an image of you that you didn't even think been taken. I don't think it then ends up on Sky Sports News.
Yeah, my mum texted me saying, you've just been on Sky Sports News and you're sleeping. And I was trying to read it thinking, no, I haven't. I've been on the bus, and then I thought to myself, I've only just woken up and I was lying on the floor of the bus. Who's been on Sky Sports recently? And looked at you and was like, have you been on Sky Sports? And you're giggling your head off.
Well, they just said, have you got any pictures to like help lift the story? And like that was the last one I'd taken.
This was bus 2, so obviously this was to Madrid, and like what I'd learned from bus 1 is getting sleep is very difficult, and getting moments where you can lie down flat and sleep like normal is really difficult. But I sort of just found a little space there, a little gap on the floor, and it's one of the best sleeps I got on that whole trip, to be honest. And the nation, the news watching nation saw it. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought to throw this one on because it's all worth it once you get there. This is backstage, I guess you technically call it, in Madrid. So the fan park is, well, you can see sort of tents and stuff there. That was, it was just an amazing day at Madrid, and everyone on there sort of from the bus. Well, nearly everyone on there, I think. Big smiles. You wouldn't guess they'd been on a 3-day journey to get there. Sunshine and beers in hand. It's all right, innit?
Yeah, that was brilliant. That we just like sort of bust in, haven't we?
Yeah.
And it had taken about an hour, and that moment of like walking into the fan park, similar to Kiev as well, because I remember getting a similar feeling. But walking into that one and seeing it, and it just looking like Glastonbury or something. Do you know what I mean? It just looked huge, and like us all having like the little cans, and yeah, that was brilliant. That was the calm before the storm. That was us just sort of patiently waiting for it all to happen. I think you were about to go on stage with Neil. But yeah, look, everyone's sort of seen the videos from that day or were there for that, and it's just it's one of those that you just can't ever take for granted, is it really? And just even seeing all the faces, like one of my favourite things about these sort of cup finals is that throughout the day seeing different groups of mates and seeing their excitement and just sort of like buzzing off each other and being there. And that was great. The one thing that sort of still baffles me about all of this is Neil wore a jumper. I can't go over it.
Yeah.
It was 30-degree heat.
He did have a top to change into. I'm pretty sure that was his stage snazzy jumper. He was really drunk when he woke up as well. As a man who shared a room with Neil, he was so drunk when he woke up. Because this was the night after when he took him about 2 hours to find that toilet in that games bar thing.
That's right, and this was what was different from Kiev, because Kiev we just rolled up on the coach and we were late already for the fan park. While Madrid we got there the night before. Now we were staying quite a bit out, but we somehow found like a little games bar. And suddenly everyone you knew ever was in it. Like, it was one of those where people must have been texting, "Oh, we're here." But the thing I always remember about the night before that is us dancing Dua Lipa. They played Dua Lipa over the thing and everyone's dancing on the dance floor. And I remember looking over to the corner and it was just all the national journalists that had turned up, and they're just like stood with the drink watching us just go fucking mad on the dance floor. I think we all woke up a little bit drunk that morning, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
But no hangover could have got us.
No, we were on stage at 11. How could we? So then we won in Madrid, and then we did that. Well, you did that.
No, we did that. I'm so proud of that. I can't not look at it whenever I walk past it. I love it. I love sort of thinking about where the idea came from, and us like on the bus back, and then like when I said to you, like, should we, like, what should we do, and you said, should we just fucking do a mural? And I think like that's one of my favourite things about working at the Anfield Wrap is, you know, if you've got a good idea, there aren't very rarely do we say no if there's a reason for us to be able to do it, and it sort of aligns with what we're about, then fuck it, let's do it. And that's what we did. And I think that was the Talking Reds before before Trent come down to see the mural. But yeah, we should be proud of that. Like we've done that, and I don't say that very often in video and stuff like that, but I love it. It's brilliant.
And Trent loved it as well, and it's, you know, the area's full of them now. L4, it's sort of partly, you know, sort of transformed the area really, which is quite cool.
Well, that was the first, and I remember when we were talking about it, and we were thinking of the reasons why to do it, and one of the things we said was, well, we need to speak to people around who live in the area to see what they think of this. We were speaking to like councillors and all sorts, just to make sure that people wanted it, like bar owners and people that lived there, just to make sure that we weren't off the mark, but everyone was excited about it. And you know, you look now, there's one of my favourite things is it's a landmark on Google, which is brilliant. But obviously, if you walk around Anfield now, there's 8, 9, and every sort of 6 months there's a new one going up. So, you know, if it's sort of inspired the rest of them, then brilliant. You know, we should be celebrating these footballers, and you know, every time they win something, we should be painting them on the city and annoying Evertonians while we do it. But Trent, when sort of seeing Trent's face, like when he was there, and hearing him say about how his parents and his family had been messaging him before he'd come to see it, just like send him pictures, because we were in America. Do you remember this? Like, we were in America while when it started getting painted, and we wanted it done by the first game of the season. And so it starts to go up, and people didn't know who it was, and there was pictures being thrown around on social, and we were sort of keeping Trent's brother in the loop about it. And he just said, like, in the days before visiting, his family were sending pictures into the family WhatsApp, like getting all excited about it. Boss. So brilliant.
Okay. Bit more on the marketing, Craig. Got one here, Dublin, Belfast. So the year later, won the league, and again, something to market. And so this campaign was a cool one and got a lot of attention.
It was a weird one, that, wasn't it? Because like we had loads of these sort of grand plans around what we were going to do, and we knew fairly sort of soon that Liverpool were going to win the league, didn't we? But obviously the pandemic happens, and it makes a lot of those more difficult and some impossible. So especially with lockdowns and stuff like that, like pulling this all together and making it happen was difficult. But I'm glad we did, because I think like if the mural was, you know, for the sort of the local community and obviously for fans who travel to Liverpool to visit whenever they're over, then this one was sort of bringing the celebrations to each of these cities. So I mean, I had to start in Belfast. Obviously, going to start in Belfast, and then yeah, we asked our subscribers in the subscriber group and online where we should go next, and they said Dublin. And I'll be honest with you, we knew they were going to say Dublin next. We had that all planned. It was up the Monday afterwards because you can't do something in Belfast, and you know, we've got so many down south of Ireland who, you know, obviously are Liverpool fans, but obviously support the Anfield Wrap as well. So Dublin was next. We did London. There were plans, I don't know if we can say this, there were plans to do other cities that might have pissed off some of our rivals, but we've decided to keep hold of those for the next time, I think. But yeah, this was brilliant. It's just exciting seeing big, massive fucking billboards of TAW on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things I loved.
Yeah. Very last one then. As you know, bit of marketing quick towards the end. It is worth pointing out you're now an award-winning marketer for the work you've done. This is an award we/you won for the Trent stuff, and it was a cool night. We got drunk.
That was one of the best nights, like while I've been at the Wrap, I think, because yeah, like you know, we've obviously won awards and stuff in the past for our content, and there's loads of them now in the office, but we decided to put the Trent mural up for this one. And to be honest, like looking back, we should have put it into more because we put it into 2 and we won 2 awards. We won this one and then the drum award.
Yes, it's the Northwest Marketing one and then the drum one as well. Which
was sort of like a nationwide. I mean, it's like, it was wider than that. It was sort of European. But yeah, this was a brilliant night because we had no idea whether we were going to win.
Yeah.
And we were in 2 categories. And the first category, we were up against Liverpool themselves. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's Liverpool and I think Twitter or something like that. And we didn't win. And so in typical Anfield Wrap style, we were a bit annoyed, weren't we? And like we just started then to drink because we're like, fuck it, you know, we'll just have a good night. And then the second one came about and we almost like, I feel like I wasn't properly listening like by that stage. It's just sort of, and when they shouted the Anfield Wrap out, it was like it was
the other people on our table like, oh, you've won.
And that was such a good feeling, like just because you'd had the disappointment of not winning the first one, and then the second one, you know, the name comes out, and then we had plans to go home straight from there, and we obviously didn't do that. We went into Manchester and met a few people from LFC Retail actually who were up for the other award. And yeah, that was great celebrations. We thought we'd lost the award as well, didn't we? Yeah. That was a worrying sort of 5 or 10 minutes.
Was that it turned up?
It turned up. It was just sat on a table somewhere. I probably, much like my phone, I'd set it somewhere. But yeah, like that was such a brilliant night. And now we've got 2 marketing awards on the shelves, and I mean, like, absolutely, it's not an award for just me. Like, the amount of work that goes in from, like, the wider team, and the idea is, you know, the Anfield Wrap's full of creative people. I just listen to the creative people and then try and make something happen. That's basically it with these marketing campaigns. So, yeah, it's great to have sort of 2 of those up. And the second one we win, it was obviously during the lockdown, so we didn't get to go to the awards do, and we didn't get the sort of, but that was one of the nice things for me, was that everyone from the team jumped on a Zoom call whilst in lockdown, and we all watched it together at the same time and all sort of celebrated together. So yeah, absolute togetherness on that one.
Boss, you enjoy that?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah. I love doing this. Going to do another one. Do you got any more pictures?
Do another one in 10 years. 10 years
we'll
now.
We'll not film it. We'll just go to yours. Nice one, mate.
Oh, nice one. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed it as well. One more to come up there, Eds.